Good afternoon. I welcome ICS Manoj Kumar Purbe, Council Member of ICSI. Extend a warm welcome to all the participants and our esteemed speaker CS Nisar Ahmed sir and CS Satvinder Singh sir. In this fourth webinar of Master Knowledge Series Triple E 6.0 on topic structuring and restructuring of business. Uh, though this topic is very much uh, heart touching topic for we company secretary, and we are every time we are very much insightful on this particular topic in today rapidly evolving business landscape. The need for structuring and restructuring and timely restructuring of business has become more critical than ever. So organization must adopt appropriate legal and financial structure at the outset to ensure operational efficiency, regulatory compliance, and scalability. At the same time, changing market dynamic, technological advancement, and economic pressure often necessitate strategic restructuring to remain competitive and resilient. This session aims to introduce the core concept and relevance of structuring and restructuring. Our two renowned faculty, one is going to give the more insight about the structuring. Another faculty is going to give more insight of their 3 decade experience about the restructuring. The dynamic business environment today demands that company secretary possess a deep understanding of both structuring and restructuring strategies to support sustainable growth and regulatory compliances. Nowadays, every company balance sheet is full of every details, every input which require the structuring and restructuring of the company. And as we are aware, nature is not stable. Like that, industry businesses also need change, and that change should be rooted through structuring and restructuring. So, a webinar aims to provide a comprehensive overview of how business can be effectively structured at inception, taking into account factors such as choice of entity, capital structure, tax efficiency, tax planning, governance framework, and regulatory consideration. As key managerial and compliance professional, company secretaries play a pivotal role in advising board and ensuring that both structuring and restructuring exercises are aligned with legal requirement and strategic objectives. So, for this in-depth deliberation on structuring of business, we have with us CS Nisar Ahmed sir, the former president of ICSI, and it's our proud privilege to have him in this session as a speaker and listen to his experience, although he requires no introduction. Being the veteran of the profession, however, I would like to have the privilege to read his brief profile. He has overall professional experience of about 31 years in corporate matters, including securities law. He was inducted on the board of governance of Global Research Foundation for Corporate Governance, an international think tank for research on global corporate governance, and served as Secretary General for 3 years terms. He is also a member of CII, National Committee on Regulatory Affairs. He is a member of the Governing Council of ICSI International Area Center. I welcome, sir, on behalf of ICSI. Hope today our attendee is going to give the full insight of this particular topic. Again, our second speaker also require no introduction, CS Satvinder Singh, sir, the former Center Council member ICSI, and we are fortunate enough to gain knowledge from his profound experience in the topic. Today, he would be deliberating on restructuring of business. And I would like read his brief profile for the members. He is founder and managing partner of Ecom Legal. He worked on all sorts of corporate commercial laws, including inbound and outbound investment, corporate restructuring, joint venture, private equity transaction, ADR, GDR, regulatory work, and so on. He authored, along with the team at Base Associate New Delhi, the book Companies Act 2013, Knowing the Changes, published by Corporate Law Advisor. We welcome both our speakers in this fourth webinar. I am confident that the deliberation today will not only enhance our understanding but also equip us with actionable insight to contribute effectively to deeper understanding of the topic. I encourage all participants to actively engage in this session, share their queries, and make the most of this knowledgeable sharing platform. So I request to all the members, kindly raise your query. Our team is going to send all those queries, and at the end of session, we can keep question answer session for all those queries. So now dice is with you, sir, and I start with the Nisar sir. Please now at your end, sir.
Thank you very much, Manoj ji, for a very generous introduction. Though I am not required to my own family, we have been addressing our own family. Everybody knows. And anyway, but it was a generous introduction. I must compliment the Institute for choosing this topic of structuring as well as restructuring of a business. In the present context, my focus would be another 30-40 minutes time to discuss more on governance side structure, and then to create a kind of pillar. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
All right, thank you. So more of in place of what we are expecting it, I presently felt myself to have what I perceived this structure to be there in the West corporate world, and therefore I thought of to share with the participants this particular topic. Let me introduce the subject. The corporate structure, what we have been now perceiving for a mid and large size company. As a governance professional, my focus would be as a CS, both in employment as well as in practice, to enlighten the board and to the management, both in the in-house council as well as external experts, how best the structure should be, or try to achieve the objectives of the corporate for which it exists. And now this structure which I just thought of to give it to you initially is a mid or large size company aspiring a mid size to go to the large and large to a international conglomerate kind of. So in this kind of objectives, see geopolitics that is happening, and then very fast, India is now poised to develop its relationship across the globe with a lot of things happening around. So therefore, what is being perceived by Western economy, we thought of to give it a best kind of solution through this presentation. The structure should be look, because ultimately we are going back again how best we are going to have a JV or the kind of foreign investments, etc. Now in this context, this structure I brought it, that shareholders on top of that any corporate we have, and then we are expecting it to have a board of directors, which is a governing body, and non-executive chairman could be in largely case large size companies who is required to have a kind of chairman with the board and to discuss all kind of things, and then down below to have a day-to-day kind of experience to deal with, and an execution part on day-to-day part is rest with the chief executive officer, typically we call managing director or whatever name called, may or may not be member of the board, CEO may or may not be the member of the board, but he is definitely called a KMP as per definition under 203. So this structure is being now perceived by in the corporate in India. And down below the CEO, I have brought knowingly four top-down kind of thing. One is, of course, COO, who is operational head. And the next one is a CFO, who is a finance head and accounting part. And the third one is the very important for all of us, third and fourth. That is the chief governance officer. And the fourth one is general counsel / company secretary, who is generally being now in most of the corporates we have been now seeing the counsel and company secretary positions are combined together. So this structure is being now started gaining momentum, particularly with the invent of the foreign collaborations and joint ventures more and more happening, because India is now positioning, as I told you, because of geopolitics, things are happening because we have a lot of FTAs and many more is going to happen in time to come. A lot of FTA we have 2025 as well as 2026 so far, and large economy, and many more corporates are going to perceive this kind of a structure. So according to my understanding, personally, I feel when I say CGO, CGO here is he is the guy who has been now there, may or may not be member of the board, but he is definitely termed as a KMP, and necessarily in CGO, a large senior company secretary with at least 10-15 years of experience may be termed as a CGO, Chief Governance Officer. Though legally we have not been recognized under 203, but definitely that thrust would be from ICSI and from the body which we have now today, and many more corporates and association of trade association. This concept is started gaining momentum in the Western economy, chief governance officer kind of thing, and we definitely push through. This structure should be look like that. So with this kind of introduction, what I understood as structuring is the formal legal framework defining how a business organization is shape management and operates to the strategic goals. Similarly, it has a lot of liability, typically involving hierarchical structure, and we'll discuss as we go forward, because a family-owned structure, and then we have hybrid structure and professionally managed structure. So in this scenario, 3-4 committees are very, very important for understanding. There are many more committees, but no corporate can understand, can be a good governance corporations unless you have a robust system of audit committee, nomination remuneration committee. We have seen in many more situations, and then we can see this, in this scenario, the risk management is going to be another. And on top of that, of course, audit committee is there for the internal things, but risk management is going to see external things. Perceiving the idea today, what is happening in the conflict, which is the West Asia conflict, and also the Ukraine and Russia conflict, and many more conflicts. We have seen in the Western Hemisphere, things are going in a different way, and the whole world is now disturbed. Not necessarily that West Asia is disturbed and GCC is disturbed, and Iran and America and Israel are now filing and then fighting for some cause, God knows. But risk management is going to be a front runner in the organization. Therefore, the structure for a corporate, according to me, is now sitting on the top of hand, to take care of external inputs, unless until, because it is now disturbing every aspects of a corporate and also to the individual. Through corporate, everybody, whosoever is there in employment or supply chain management, all this is structure required to be looked into, and this perception of risk management, which is of course defined in the statute, but definitely it is now corporate has started now giving more thrust on having a risk management section of a corporation. The fourth one is the CSR. Of course, CSR committee, we all know that's not much to discuss today's day, but definitely it is a front runner if the company corporate is having a profit size Today is the 5 crore average, but tomorrow likely to be 10 crore because the bill is now pending for select committee and going to the parliament. Soon we are expecting something to happen another couple of months down the line. And then we have to have a very important role because subsection 7 and 8 and 9 of 135, that is going to be give you kind of criminality part and very serious part that needs to be a very robust system. This is not only this structure, this committee job is not only to do only mandates for legal compliances, but is going to showcase the face as a social part of the corporate into the whole society and the corporate's world, and also to the regulator, what best you are governed. So this time is required. Now then, when you are going next to this, I am just going for a kind of system of a standalone versus subsidiary kind of thing, joint venture context. Now, when we are discussing the structures, a standalone company, we are having all mid-size and then we don't have any system. But definitely, now every corporates, most of them have started now doing business through, now because of embargo in subsidiary, layer of subsidiary under new act, 2013 act. Earlier it was not there, so we have hundreds of subsidiaries or the associate companies. But now there is a restrictions to that. What is the step down subsidiary to be or ultimate holding company? So a standalone versus subsidiary kind of context, though legally it is recognized, but this structure is now going to play a very pivotal role, and particularly in doing the large segments when you are going to do a multi-product business and multi kind of operational size, pan India, as well as geographical kind of complex. Maybe you have a multi-products company, so this require focus attention of through that particular subsidiary chain instead of doing, because I have been working earlier for a company having 22 units or divisions. Now it's virtually impossible to handle and consolidation and all kind of in a standalone format. So we started doing at that point in time, creating kind of a subsidiary and giving hiving off the business, which is a job of my friend Satvinder to deal with hiving off and restructuring when he is going to do it. Now a standalone, when I was working for a company having a 22 locations, independent company, every location was having a complete, but it was under one command, a standalone. It was a listed entity. So then we just thought of, while associated with there, to have merger, amalgamation, 7 merger we did it, and then we formed 7 subsidiary and to started now doing hiving off particular business into the level entity. That I leave it to the Satvinder to deal with when he's going to deal with hiving off kind of thing or merger acquisition. Now, subsidiary business therefore is gaining momentum in the present structure, and similarly, when we say subsidiary, we are having 50%, but there are a lot of disputes because I am also dealing day and day with the situation like NCLT regime. Now, if you are having typically less than 76% ownership, you are going to get the blocking of your special resolution, and also to that. Therefore, it's very important for the aspects when as a CGO, as a chief governance officer, or as a compliance officer, KMP, we need to give a good structure to the corporate, how best to take the interest present and future. And therefore, of course, 50 plus 1 share, 50% of one voting rights is called subsidiary. But definitely, as we gain further, we have to see through. If you are listed entity, you have to cannot go beyond 75% and something like that. So naturally, you have to structure how best we can control somehow in different way, not to block something kind of thing. Then we are having another concept gaining momentum very fast, which is in the corporates. Well, we are going to discuss the business structure, merger, this wholly owned subsidiary concept is started now happening. Now, wholly owned subsidiary, though legally this is not defined in the statute, unlike your subsidiary word is defined under section 2, subsection 87, as I mentioned. But wholly owned subsidiary is not at all defined in the statute, though section 185, 186, and many more sections are dealing with the wholly owned subsidiary and kind of exemptions and from the rigors of compliances and reporting parts and all. But definitely, this structure is going to be the only thing is requirement here is meticulously you have to see through Section 89 compliances. Many more things happening at the same time when you are having two shareholders in a private company or 7 members in case of public company, though they are holding shares, in their names, but beneficially ownership is there with the body corporate who is owning the shares. So these all kind of characters, they are supposed to attend the meeting of the, but a lot of issues happening. See why I brought this wholly owned subsidiary concept. Practically in the litigation, things have started happening because you need a quorum for a public limited company. Though you are not a listed one, let us assume you are a public limited company. You are not listed, but you are having a large size of pool of business. But definitely for having a board meeting and shareholders meeting, particularly shareholders meeting, you need to have a quorum. And if sometimes something happening, your employee or person whom you have given these shares, 1 share or something, who is not cooperating with you, so that will start litigation. So try to how to deal with this scenario. Maybe we can discuss. You can flag all those questions which you have. We can 15-20 minutes time at the end of the discussions. We'll definitely try to answer all the query which you have in your mind. What kind of a structure you are going to have, and practically we have been dealing day and day in the litigation format, wholly owned subsidiary business and subsidiary business. Now the next concept is now a structure part is a joint venture. The joint venture is not typically defined, but definitely when we are discussing the associate company under section 2 subsection 6, the word joint venture has also been now given effect to. Therefore, joint venture is now there, particularly when a foreign party is now entering into first time into in India. Because FTA, as I mentioned in the beginning, many FTAs have been happening. And then they are looking India as a destination for doing manufacturing work or service provider, large scale. Like kind of, in case of services or supply of goods and materials and services to a different jurisdiction, you need to have a kind of JV to begin with. And thereafter, you might be having some kind of shareholding increase and ownership, etc. This JV composition structure is also gaining a lot of, particularly after these FTAs, though we are having earlier JV concept, but it was short later part, because most of the companies were started incorporating wholly owned subsidiary or maybe with some local partner and bring it their own control from day one. But there are certain scenarios which require a JV to be there in existence, particularly press note number 3, where the ultimate beneficiary having a land border with India. Certain countries land which having a land border, the press note number 3. I don't want to deal, maybe you have flagged the question. Press note number 3 of 2020, dealing with restrictions, you need to go have the approval, prior approval required, and therefore JV format is very important. Now they have been doing, practically it is happening in JV format, and they are getting the approval if the land border is being shared with India of those companies having a ultimate beneficial ownership. So that is another very important. I'll deal with a little later this particular part. So this is the company called associate company. This is definition of associate company, and that also important structure for the purpose of consolidation and reporting part, particularly financial transactions when you are going to have in terms of control, and the definition of control is very much there, 20% in shares or otherwise. If you are having control, then that require also to be looked into when you are having a structured business. So 3-4 aspects require. Kindly keep this in mind when you are going to have directly, or even if you are not having shareholding, but somehow even the supply chain, you are having more of like total supply. The person is whom you are supplying to, the who is buyer, and having a kind of total particular transactions 20% or more. This means you are having, even if you are not having 20% shareholding, deemed to have a kind of associate company. A concept has come, and there was a case that has now it has not been decided. But there was no holding. There was no holding in that company where your supply of material or goods were happening. At the same time, there was no direct control of the businesses of management of the board. But business decision, if it is happening and he's sourcing from you, you means the corporate A, the corporate B is now sourcing the business decision. He's taking a decision, a conscious decision, both A and B, that I'll provide you this particular business to you, and you are going to source. And if it is more than 20% of the total output or the turnover at the end of the fiscal year, definitely you have been now deemed to be a called associate company, and therefore consolidation and compliance is required to be looked into. So please remember, as a corporate advisor, as an in-house counsel, this concept of associate company needs to be looked into. Now, the another point which I thought of to bring just a lighter side, that 89 and 90, though it was in the back seat, always been there in the back seat. It is a very, but with the advent of the rigors and the focus attention of the government, particularly ministry, this 89 and 90, both I'm going to join, that required to be looked into meticulously. 90 still we have been now lacking, and there is a report of CSE, Committee for Company Law Committee, CLC. There was a flag they have issued, and that's the reason 90 came into being. Still that 90 is not being looked into the way, but government may come at any time, because things are happening and because ultimate beneficial ownership is required to be disclosed to who is the ultimately holding, and that ultimate person should be an individual. Layer of corporate body, both in India elsewhere, globally, you are moving through web, chain of web of the corporates, and ultimately, who is the ultimate person or persons holding the chain or the key with the company ultimate? So who is the ultimate beneficiary? That required to be triggered even as good as today only, as good as today morning. We have discussing one issue, and there are cases. There one case has already now come. Chennai case, NCLT. Please note somewhere, the company secretary was, he understood the law, and he gone to company secretary of the company, filed a case in NCLT for non-compliances of 90, just to trigger himself that I'm an officer in default. I don't want to be kind of exposed to the rigors of Section 90. Therefore, 90, 89 to be seen very cautiously when you are doing a structure. Very beginning, whenever somebody is coming to me for income, though we are not doing much in corporation, but I have been always advising my juniors, whenever you are going to incorporate a body, incorporation, and in that incorporation, if you have a foreign partners through body corporate, please try to get from the day one who is the chap who is behind the body corporate, who is the individual ultimate. May not be the same company, but through wave of companies, he or she is holding. Today only in the morning we come to the carousel, one person. Last 6 months we have been struggling to find, and finally we got through the person and got the beneficial declaration. You must do it. So this is, while doing the structure part, very important. I have just given more time to 89 and 90 that require this structure for my brothers and sisters. Either you are in the employment or in the public domain, practicing domain. This require a significant beneficial ownership concept, and read meticulously. Cases have started now flagged. Cases are already there in the court, and things are going to be, future things you are going to have it. Now, therefore, I'm coming to you for another concept of kind of combo, family owned versus not typically India, but now it's a gradual movement with the advent of the governance structure, both in India and having more and more businesses entering into with the global business, and with the I've been using again and again FTA, because the structure of corporate required to be looked into, looking at not a standalone basis. What India we are doing business within the geography of India. We are going beyond the business, and many more. The barrier is, there is no barrier. The barrier is now lifted. 99.9% businesses are being now under OGL. Nothing is required to be having FDI concept. You go and incorporate a company, get the money, and they start the business from day one. One day, incorporate a company, get the money, open the bank account immediately, get the money from foreign funds, and start doing business. So therefore, now family owned, typically India, Japan, and certain part of Western economy, particularly Europeans, Germany and Netherlands, and many more, in a structure that is a family owned. They don't want to share more. They don't want to be listed one. So family owned, even if listing, they want to have a 65, 70, 75% ownership, directly or indirectly holding it. So that is and they want to also control the board. So there is an advantage and disadvantage. But now with the advent of the FIs, with the advent of private equity coming into more and more finance, and different funds coming to in India. India is the destination because India is a democratic nation. Unlike other jurisdiction, I don't want to name, where the transparency is lacking. India is a transparent country, having a complete jurisdiction openness and democratic setup. That's the reason, in fact, I'm trying to give it to the professionally managed company structure. They do prefer, particularly the Western fund managers, they do prefer a professionally managed structure to be in place. But if it's not there, family, they don't want to share dilution. But slowly and gradually, we have started now seeing. See, I've been there for the last 37 years in the corporate. I've seen, the very old structure. I have been now dealing with so many structures in the past. As far as the Japanese are concerned, collaboration Japanese. But I mentioned, all family-owned kind of situation. Ultimately, there you go and see this, structure. But these two structures are now being prevalent. Therefore, as an advisor, both external and internal, as an in-house counsel, you please provide, because the Western funds, they have been now putting it a kind of clause to have in 3 years down the line dilution. You should not have the family-owned person should not be chairman and managing director. Let it be CEO or something like that. Person should be a professional. And and that's the reason, in fact, the SEBI, as well as MCA too has started now kind of doing this kind of thing for ease of doing that, having professionally managed the structure, as well as high. Now, therefore, now today's day, we are expecting another 3 years to 5 years down the line. The India is also going to have a large pool of companies. When I mentioned mid-size and the large size, they are going slowly and gradually moving from hybrid to professionally managed structure. What we have seen in US jurisdiction, Canadian jurisdiction, and other Western economy, large based. UK too also has started now doing. Fund is now owning the shareholding. Individuals are not there, most of the them, and then it is managed by the professionals. So therefore, this is a structure to be seen. I'm just flagging. If they have questions, we'll discuss, because every structure required a lot of time to debate. But now we have seen the shift from family owned to hybrid structure. They have started now giving more space to the professional to deal with. Professional board is not coming to. That's the reason, in fact, concept of independent board. More of the independent board is now, more and more independent directors. They were started now coming into the, and then I have seen many more company which is controlled by independent director. Majorities are independent director. So this kind of a structure which we feel as in the business in the times to come. So you have to create a structure and see through how best we are going to give advice. These are the only comparison: control, board, management, focus, decision, conflicts. These are the structure, the component family owned versus professionally managed, and hybrid family plus the professionally managed company. So this structure is the combo. Maybe we can anytime we can discuss. But these are the already research work in the Indian context that we have been now showcasing to the Western economy and the particularly fund managers who are now looking for India entry. They have been doing Singapore, Dubai. Of course, Dubai is disturbed, but London is there, very much there. and in New York market. We have been now showing Hong Kong, through Hong Kong route also money started coming. So these are the situation where we have control point of view, board point of view, and management point of view. Prefer the professionally management if you are having more fund, private equity or otherwise. Next is functional structure versus divisional structure. There is another concept that's being now presently being now talked of. The functional structure, how you have been now dealing, and there you are putting a divisional structure. So I just thought of giving a kind of two different idea. And when you see the, in the functional structure, you are giving each function is head by, by like, as I mentioned to you in my old organization where I worked 3 years, 89 to 92, we are having 22 units, independent units. Books of accounts are independently managed. There is a finance guy. There is a kind of thing. Everything is done as if it is an independent company, but it is managed by the board. Ultimately, matter goes to the buck stop at the board level. Only one board was there. But now there is a divisional structure. Divisional heads report directly to the CEO, and the results in duplication of resources and divisions, that is much more being now there. The divisional structure versus functional structure, we need to also spend good time on understanding. And there is a last structure in this part, then we move further. The combo of both divisional versus structure, professional structure. And that gives a lot of meaning. Employees reporting to both functional manager as well as CFO. And when I am a CFO, there are certain elements you require CGO. When I'm introducing CGO, because CGO is now one chap who is going to take care of your non-financial transactions, reporting aspects to the board. Because board is meeting only once in a quarter or 2 months time, maybe 1 month, every month or twice a month or something like that. But who is the person to enlighten the board and make a presentation about the financial transaction and the non-financial transaction and the operational transactions? There are 3 elements, and therefore, like CFO role is there as far as the accounting part is concerned. A lot of issues are there. Similarly, a lot of reporting aspects are required for meeting out a lot of reporting part, but non-financial transactions are equally important. That's the reason, in fact, today in the bill, which is now pending before the the select committee, 204 has been now defined to call secretarial auditor, and non-financial transactions are rest for the external person called secretarial auditor, and the definition is now given to. Similarly, in-house counsel, he needs to be called CGO, Chief Governance Officer, or Chief Compliance Officer. He needs to also look into non-financial transaction to bring to the board on a regular basis or seamlessly. So I'll not spend much time on this. I'll read this quickly. I'll leave it. Now go back to the next para. Next issue is acquisition. Now, when you are putting a structure now in place, it was a structure on a standalone structure. Now, when you are going to grow, you have a plan 5 years down the line. Now, you don't want to go for the a step down subsidiary or wholly owned subsidiary or then hiving off and so on. So you straight away you want to acquire a company and now run the company independently. Maybe after 3-5 years down the line, then you go for merger or maybe hiving off or something like that. But this acquisition business, though it is there, detail my friend will deal with 232 legal implication, it will be dealt with by Satvinder. But now, as far as concept wise, as far as business metrics, when you are thinking of doing this corporate acquisition, the control is the important point. Growth strategy and market entry, technology access. And there are very more, if you can say, these are the imported case study. If you are thinking on the acquisition of businesses, these are the cases, live case study, which I thought bring to all of you. Please note, keep it in mind and read it. It is in public domain. How best there have been acquisition has taken place, and they are seamlessly. Walmart, Flipkart was now taken over in 2018. Tata Steel, Bhushan. Similarly, Life Insurance Corporation and IDBI. Reliance Retail and Future Group Retail business that has been not taken. It is acquisition. So you are also growing your corporates and putting your structure in different way from A to B and B to C in a different through acquisition. So these are the important case study I thought of to bring quickly. In case of joint venture, we have a couple of case study for you to go through if you are really going to advise in joint venture kind of thing. Of course, I already discussed theoretically. As I mentioned, MNC prefer entry route in foreign territory, and even if I am going to have, I don't have any business matrix going to have Luxembourg or going to have in Cyprus business. I do something like on a joint venture with a local partner. Most of the time you're going to identify a local partner, and then you are going to have a kind of, because local partner is having some sorts of kind of governance issue with them. So I'm going to entering into the partner or other vice versa. So MNCs, they do prefer entry route through this foreign part. Now these are the important JB case studies I brought for you, for all of you to understand. Singapore Airlines, Vistara has been taken over, ultimately has gone into merging mode. And finally, you have seen the Tata Sons JV. Punjab National Bank JV with the MetLife US, TNB MetLife has came into being with after joint venture. Maruti Suzuki, typically Suzuki Motor Corporation. Earlier it was a standalone company, Maruti. India, it has got into joint venture. Long planning. BrahMos Aerospace, very important because BrahMos is going to be in a different level now. Year in 2026 onward, with after the conflict, geopolitical things happening, BrahMos is, and it's a very successful joint venture. So far, there is no impediment. So these are the things. Then the next, because the time is very fast, so we may be going to have another 2-3 months time. Takeover, another structure part is the takeover versus leverage buyout. I have tried to give it to you. The takeover versus leverage buyout LBOs, and in that position, we all know this position, control through shareholding, generally majority stakes that we have been having, and can be a public offering through listed entity. So these are the takeover things, maybe or may not be through, maybe you can have creeping acquisition while you are going to acquire 5% or something like that. And ultimately, when you are going to have 25% or more, directly or indirectly, you are going to have public offering, going to have acquisition and furthermore, funded through own funds or mixed financings. So takeover is there. Similarly, but here is, in case of LBOs, LBO is, you are not going to spend more finance. You are going to get finance. You know this Patanjali issue? Satvinder is fully aware because he was involved. When this from IBC route, we have acquired, entire money of the business plan was funded by SBI. So without putting money more, the company was acquired, and the whole money that has been supposed to be, the commitment was there to the financial creditor and non-financial creditor. All that has been met with through the funding of, and a lot of haircuts. So it's a case study being talked of in the IB schools. That is issue. So leverage that out. You are not going. You are acquiring through financial, primarily through loans, and target companies assess cash flow used as a collateral. Give it collateral to the financiers. Common in private equity transaction, particularly we have been seeing, and a high risk but potentially high return. That is the LBOs. This kind of a structure is being now discussed when you don't want to expose the finance, your internal accruals for buying out something. You buy the assets, get it financed, give it to this part, and then try to do business. Last but not the least here in this presentation is a takeover. All you know that another matrix structure, how you are going to have a takeover, friendly versus hostile. All that we know, a lot of cases. Straight way I'm coming to now for hostile takeovers, a few cases, all Adani and NDTV. Must read, those who are really looking for advising how best to guard with. A lot of theories are there into this. Larsen Toubro versus Mindtree Imami versus Jandu Pharmaceuticals. These are the couple of very celebrative takeovers, hostile takeovers decision. Leverage, I don't want to take much time on this, already discussed. Share buyback, all we know.
I think there is some technical glitch with Nisar, sir. Let me connect to him. Sir, you're on mute.
Yes, please do
Yes,
as
yes.
click.
Doing. Yes, sir. Just a second. Mm.
Yes, please. Nisaz is out. Just
नहीं सर आप लॉग आउट हो गए sir he is logging in another 2 minutes. There's some technical glitch at his end, so he is logging again.
as due to some technical issues, Nisar sir is trying to join it again. Till now, sir, Satvinder sir, can we start with on restructuring?
Yes, we can start. We can start.
Sir, please.
And, I think he was discussing the buyback, and uh, once he'll rejoin, probably now
We can continue with that. You can start from your perspective of this restructuring, sir.
Thank you, Manoj, for the kind introduction, and I must extend my thanks to the Institute of Company Secretaries for giving me the opportunity to speak on the subject, the restructuring of businesses, or you can say a corporate restructuring as normally put it. Uh, I will take up the session on the restructuring part, and uh, I think Nisar Bhai has very well delved into the different aspects of the structuring, how to set up the business, what kind of issues one need to take care. Am I audible, Manoj?
Technical side, please. It is already continuing. Technical team, please. Satvinder is only one slide is here.
Mm. देखिए,
Okay.
just
So
a minute.
Satvinder sir told to your
Yeah, Nisar Bhai has joined. I think Nisar Bhai, why don't you complete it?
Yeah. There was some problem in the system because Wi-Fi has gone. I'll try to help.
Yes.
sir.
I was closing, that only one slide is now there. Then we are anyway, we are going to close. Because
Satvinder sir, until now you resolved the issue of that presentation. It is from your office side. It is reflecting 2 slide in one screen. Nisar sir, you can continue till now. Satvinder sir resolving the issue.
right, just a minute. Yeah, so this is, we have just gone to
You are at buyback slide, sir.
yes. Yes.
Yes, sir. This slide.
Yeah. This I mentioned already, buyback, another part of structuring doing, there's a buyback through buyback. And then we have 4 issues, how the buyback is going to become an anti-takeover tool. It is an antithesis. One is that takeover, and to safeguard the takeover, as I mentioned, 3-4 case law. This buyback is another tool available for doing corporate structuring. And 3 cases I brought it for all of you for understanding. Just keep note. Maybe a detailed discussion could be at any time. Tata Group and Air India acquisition, Adani Group and Ambuja Cement, and Zomato and Blinkit. This is the scenario we have been now doing. Now, I don't want to spend good time on this. This is the detailed studies, and as per the published documents, financial statements, what we have seen with the acquisition overview, the Tata Group has acquired Air India, a strategic move to strengthen the presence in aviation sector, and the post acquisition, you see that reduced from 60,000 crore to 52,000 crore, and fleet expanded from 114 to 152 crore, 51 aircraft. So these are the case studies, for all of you to see. Adani Group again, Ambuja, and then down below we have seen, Adani was early metric thing 23 and Ambuja, and put together now it's 53 plus metric ton per annum, the acquisition going to this. And similarly, this kind of scenario, Zomato. Now today we know the Blinkit has gone. So this is another way of, and then they've gone, you apply this takeover code. So these are the all points I just thought of for those. Because of 3-4 minutes I've already exceeded. I thought I should say thank you so very much for this
No, sir.
opportunity given to me.
It's okay,
Thanks
sir.
to ICSI and the time constant, because of this require lot of deliberation discussions. Friends.
Sir, as whatever you have just explained about the structuring, main genesis of this structuring arises, and our company secretary is struggling and through fund. One is dispute or control management wants in every restructuring. So how a company secretary going to deal with that situation? Because it is very difficult for the company secretary in the light of the rules and regulations of Indian laws and FTA more specifically.
Absolutely, no issue.
In section 89 and 90. So some
Yes.
insight on that, sir.
Yeah, both in case of, that is the main core area. See, for a company secretary, if the 10 years of experience, 10, 20 years of experience, he needs to be a kind of advisor to the management, both promoter as well as to the board and the partner, how best we can do it. And there is a kind of system, control point of view. The definition of control is very widened now. You must see, earlier it was through FIPB, DIPP. Earlier it was DIPP control. It was not defined. But when this 2013 Act came into being, the word control has been as it is lock, stock, and barrel. They have now picked up from the definition that has been over market time, the definition of control, which was there in the FIPB regime to take care of, after Vodafone case.
Yes, sir.
Long back, I'm just dealing with the Sterling issue. So that the word control has been now given a more momentum. And then finally, Ministry of Corporate Affairs has adopted. So therefore, the control part, while very important part to read control definition very meticulously and go their principal to principal contract agreements instead of kind of dependence, and never ever discuss that issue of the other side company if you really wish to have businesses on arm's length basis. That's the reason in called arm's length, without being discussed in the board here and without discussing on the board there, either annual or quarterly. So these are the issues I suggest the company secretary to advise. Shareholding, all we know the shareholding part is there. But without shareholding, how best you can do control over the company sourcing? Like, you are a manufacturer. You are the finished product, but product A. But product A manufacturer, we need, X, Y, Z raw materials. Sometimes mid size, something like that, supply chain. In supply chain, you need to have kind of seamless supply chain. Otherwise, you cannot meet the requirement of the end customer for your export obligation or in-house consumptions. Sale. It's required to be meticulously when you are drafting the agreement. The agreement required to be supply chain management agreement. Very important, the contract management. Here is the role of contract management, which is the job of company secretary initially to look into. So my only suggestion to all the company secretaries sitting here or not sitting there, to must involve, read very carefully this definition, try to give out without any situation, and then when you are drafting the business contract, and help the organization to take the issue beyond the regime for the purpose of not only that, for the purpose of a deemed control, then in that scenario, your consolidation, you need to be unnecessarily trapped. So arm's length, principal to principal transactions, and so on and so on. So this kind of suggestion I thought I should share with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for enlightened suggestions to our members. Right now, members are still crossed 10,000. And after Satwinder Sen, I hope this numbers is going to increase further to next level. So over to Satwinder Sen.
I must salute all the participants, those who are having enthusiasm and really trying to learn something what they have been now in the corporate structuring and restructuring they intend to under. That is the focus area, I tell you. Manoj, this is the focus area for a corporate. Now, for the corporate secretary, for the governance professional, they should spend more time, around 3/4 time, in doing this kind of a structuring instead of doing compliance management. Let it be the junior to deal with compliance management. You can oversee the compliance.
Now over to Sir Satwinder sir.
Thank you.
And about
Maybe
the
some questions.
two stalwart. One is just sir. At the end of the session, we are going to 15 minutes for question answer, sir.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Satwinder sir.
Yes, thank you, Nisar.
Okay, brother. Now floor is yours.
For such a wonderful exposition, I must say that I think you have covered many aspects, and right from discussing not only the setting up but the joint ventures and how the wholly owned subsidiaries issues will be taken it up, and you have really cited number of examples of the joint ventures and the buyback and other things. Probably you have made my task easier. And thank you, Manoj. It is really, I'm really humbled to see the number of participants. You are saying it is over 10,000. And that reminded that, okay, because the only one profession which I see is the profession of company secretary, which is very versatile. And the attitude which I always look at it is, and wherever I go, I always say that Lakshmi or Saraswati, dono kabhi इकट्ठी नहीं आती. But if you will have a blessings of Saraswati, Lakshmi will always follow. That is
Absolutely.
where the you see the attitude to learn and to you see implement the learning in the practical aspects are the most important things which I think we all seen. Nisar bhai knows, I know that, okay, you probably know that, okay, whatever we are is because of the blessings and the learnings which we have gained and this institute has given. And as and when you see, I get the opportunity, I've been invited. It is always a pleasure to interact with the members and to talk about the subject. And this is the subject which is close to my heart. I think must have done more than 400 matters and other things on the structuring part only and the restructuring of that business. And let me just uh, take you to the few of the slides to initially and why we talk about the corporate restructuring, why we are talking about the restructuring of the businesses. And you see, in 2007, I coined when I was a chairman at NIRC, and I said that, okay, it is a panacea for corporate turbulence. If you have any problem and you are not getting any direct answer under any provisions of the Companies Act, I think this is the one section code now which we talk about section 230 to section 232 is the code in itself. And the code is when we talk about the amalgam of various laws. And this is where when we talk about the code is that, okay, if you want to achieve something, and you are not able to do this thing, you draw a scheme of arrangement, come to the NCLT, get the things done, get it what is, and with the requisite majority of shareholders and creditors. And this is where we are talking about that that if you have any problem, you you resort to the provisions of section 230 to section 232 and it is coming. So in this today my presentation would be largely focused on the mergers and the case studies on the demergers and the slum sale, and we will discuss about it. But just before that is when we talk about the need for restructuring, I think the important part is that this is the subject of restructuring, which when we adopt it because of the related provisions under the Income Tax Act. And we sometimes feel that, okay, it is one of the best tax planning tool, which you can have it, and we will discuss how best we can take it out for this. And then also sometime the objective is that, okay, let's have divide the assets and other things and divide the businesses and let both the entities be the listed entities. And again, this is the subject where sometimes you need to have a backdoor listing, not through a regular way, but you are getting it done through the scheme of arrangement. And the law provides under the SEBI regulations and the LODR regulations which are there is this. There's a lot of impetus for foreign investments. You know, why that foreign investments? If somebody, Nisar Bhai was talking about the joint ventures, he talked about Maruti, he talked about the other foreign shareholders coming. Sometimes you are carrying on many business activities in one day. So the investor is not looking at it is that, okay, he is interested to come in your company with varied businesses. He is interested to come only in a particular sections. I'm just looking at it is that I'll give you the example. I was in one of my experiences in the it was the Motherson case. They were the glass, the mirrors manufacturers. The technology for the mirrors, for the front end mirror and the rear end mirror is totally different. And the question which was coming, can I say that the front end mirror is a separate undertaking and the rear end mirror is a separate undertaking? Because the investor is looking at only a particular end of that thing where they have to come and how we have to just work it out. I'm just looking at it is there. Next important part, which is the cross-border mergers. And in the process of that cross-border merger, now there is a new flavor which has come because of the provisions and the capital market, which is the robust market that India has witnessed over the past year. There is a concept of a ghar wapsi, where earlier you see these startups, the techies, they had set up their holding company overseas and the operations here. And that time the intent was that the private equity investors was investing in the companies and they were looking at it is that let that companies be outside the India jurisdiction. We will invest in US, we will invest in Singapore, we'll invest in other entities for that. But operationally, they were operating it there. Now, when they had to get an exit, they were looking at it is that why not have a ghar wapsi, why not merge the holding company structure and collapse those structures by holding company merging with the Indian operating entities with the intent that okay, let those Indian entities be listed on the Indian stock market, because today if you see the PE multiple, right, I think in India that's one of the best PE multiple you will get it. I could see the PE multiple, many companies are not only at 20 or 30, it is going to 90, 95 of your EBITDA multiple. That is the PE multiple which is coming up and people are exploring. And there are many companies. I would name many of the subsidiaries of the foreign entities have got listed. You talk about LG, you talk about Hyundai. Rather than keeping that wholly owned subsidiary, they said, why not invest and take that, you see, the funds from the capital market for further expansion rather than those companies will be there. And then there are many other companies which have been lined up for that. Now, next, if I look at it, what makes you to go for the restructuring? Sometimes you have the purposes, but you see, when you have to give the rationale, you need to, you see, draw in a scheme that what are the strategic synergies, and those strategic synergies are there. I'm not saying that, okay, those are just a paper synergies. People are looking at a growth in market share. They are looking at a diversification. They are looking at it that what would be the product range width for this thing. They are looking at a global platform. They are looking at the market penetration for this. Let's have like in a pharmaceutical industry, people are not there. The solution could be the same, right? But if you would like to have that, okay, I am taking a Crossin. Crossin is a brand, right? So they would like to acquire that brand rather than for acquiring the market penetration. So these are the brand acquisitions where you will see enhancement of technical know-how, which I just said that, okay, how well. So these are the synergies where you have to look at it. Then comes the financial synergies when you talk about whether you are liquidity starved or you are liquidity surplus. If you are a liquidity surplus, what do you want to do? You are looking at giving more dividend. You are looking at a buyback of shares. You are looking some benefit to the promoters. You are looking at some further acquisition, right? But if you are liquidity staff, then you are looking at it as how best you can sell the idle businesses. How best you can, you see, take that benefit and make it the liquidity surplus, because today the concept under the IBC is largely driven now by the liquidity, not by the asset base for this thing. And if you are not able to serve your debt, probably you are stuck. You can be getting out of the business because that is because your liquidity is stuck. So no company, even under the IBC, when I talked about on the IBC, I said that they said, what do you have achieved out of the IBC? I said the one thing which they have achieved is that they have changed the mindset of the borrower, right? That to serve the debt first and then think about this thing. And on that basis is the capital structure flexibility. Are you looking at a debt equity ratio of 1:1? Are you looking that your company should be totally debt free? Are you looking at it as it should be 2:1 to the debt equity ratio? How you have to do it? And then there are related tax and cost advantages. One has to look at it, and those are the benefits which are. No, no, sometimes I feel that okay, these are the benefits, but they are incidental, but these are the synergies, right? You need to take the benefit of carry forward of losses, those are incidental to that. But your rationale must say that it is not that okay, if you will see and give the rationale that the purpose of my scheme of arrangement or amalgamation is to take the benefit of this thing, the court will just throw that benefit. But what is the rationale you have to provide it in the scheme is the very, very important aspect which you have to see to it. Now, coming next to the slide for this thing is that what all constitute as part of the corporate restructuring. I am just giving you a brief for this, which I will take it for this thing is acquisitions. Nisar Bhai has also spoken about this thing that in acquisitions, are you looking at a joint venture or you are looking at a share purchase or you are looking at asset purchase? If you are looking at the asset purchase, are you looking at the mode of acquisition, whether you are going by the slump sale method or you are looking at it as purchase of the assets on a piecemeal basis? That one has to just look at it. When you talk about the merger, you look at it whether I should go for, and those are the things which we discuss it at the conceptualization stage. Are we looking at a reverse merger or are we looking at a forward merger? And in that reverse merger, which I talked about, is the carve-ups, right? Or even both in reverse merger or forward merger, the cross-border mergers, which the you see now the Companies Act provisions have added. Then you talk about the demerger, and one of the reasons I'm just making it is apart from those synergies, which are very, very important, which probably I will just make it is, but one of the reasons which I say that it is not a the merger or demerger is a game of the big industrial houses. Even if I see 90, more than 90% of the cases of the demerger are partly which are there, and even in the small and medium companies for this thing, where I have seen the demerger happening just because of the family settlements. The two brothers have set up their businesses. Their kids have grown up, right? Now they see the kids of one brother are thinking differently than the kids of brother. They say, no, 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 we are not matching. We will do the business. Then they come to us to see that how best we can divide the assets, how best we can divide the business of the company into such manner that both the groups can run the businesses independently, right? And it should be tax efficient. No promoter wants that whatever the structuring or restructuring they have to do, it should not be a tax efficient. Everybody wants the tax efficient structures. And in that part, not only on the Companies Act, and I always look at it as and when you are dealing with the restructuring, और मैं हमेशा सबको बोलता हूँ कि यदि आप अर्ली मॉर्निंग या मॉर्निंग में राम राम अल्लाह जीसस को याद करते हो, वाहिगुरु को याद करते हो, and as and when you are doing a restructuring, you also need to look at it as stamp duty, stamp duty, stamp duty. You never know that what is the impact of the stamp duty coming to this thing, and that makes you that how best you can conceptualize. I will deal with those case studies with you guys. As I said that okay, restructuring options, how best you can achieve by way of merger or reverse merger, right? And when you do about the reverse mergers, you see at one point of time we had a SICA, which is now omitted for this thing. The losses and the concept of reverse merger came because you had to continue with those losses for this thing. And then they come that, okay, let the profit making company get merged. So the process remains the same, be it the reverse merger or a forward merger under the Companies Act. This is only that how and in what manner you can preserve the value of the assets. You can preserve the value because today the business losses also have a value. How best you can take that achievement for this thing. The demerger. When you are talking about is whether the demerger is better or a slum sale is better. You need to look at the objectives. Is the timing is the objective? I'll take you through that as and when the company secretaries comes to me, another question comes, sir, demerger पे जाएं या slum sale पे जाएं, right? And when we will deal with this thing, I think we will discuss that what are the differences between the demerger and slum sale. Then you would like that, okay, you have this thing, you would like to wipe out the minority shareholders who are untraceable, right? You would like to give the exit to some of the shareholders. Today, I think I have done at least 10 for the last 1 year, 1 or 2 years, at least 8 to 10 matters of the selective reduction. Buyback of shares, rights issue, how best you can see that the value can be adjusted and on the valuation aspect, if it is coming or the capital gain is coming, how best you can structure it, even through the rights issue. These are the issues which are there and the reconstruction of share planning. As I said that it is one of the best tax planning tool, be it a loss or you are looking at its waiver of liabilities, how best that waiver of liability can be structured in a manner that should not be treated as an income in your hands, right? Now the MAT is over, stamp duty implications, I said that okay. And even in the cash repatriation, sometimes you're looking at it is. And recently, you see, we were doing it in the company, the loss-making company. Because those were into the infrastructure. And initially they spent it, the companies were losses. Now there are toll which are being collected. On the one side, there is a cash lying in the company. Other side is the losses which are being carried forward for this thing. How to structure it, how to take out the cash and give it to the shareholders who have invested for the years. Those are the issues which will come and you have to deal with that part is the important aspect. Now, I think the important part, which one is there? मैंने कहा था वो प्री प्रिविजन दो इंस्टॉल कर this is wrong. No, अब यही चलने दो. यही चलने दो यार. Manoj, is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Now coming to this thing, let me just start with this. If you look at the provisions of the Companies Act, right? Now that's a chapter 6. Talk about section 230 to section 240, right? What is written in those in the heading? If one look at it, what is written there in the heading, Manoj? It talks about the compromise. It talks about the arrangement, right? Now, when I talk about that, if it is a compromise, the next question comes immediately in mind. What compromise presupposes? आज यदि मेरा compromise हो रहा है, तो क्यों हो रहा है? And then they say the compromise presupposes that yes, there is a dispute. And believe me, I'm telling you, even if there is a dispute between the company and its shareholders, even if there is a dispute between the company and its creditors and you're not getting answer under any other provisions of the act, this is such a wonderful code that you draw a scheme, settle it through the scheme of arrangement, and you will get the answer. That's why I was saying that it is a panacea for copper turbulence. Now, 230 to 232 are the sections which you deal with through the NCLT process, right? Now, I would like to draw the distinction. 230 is a larger section. Normally, we always provide 230 and 232. If it is only a scheme of arrangement not involving merger, not involving demerger, let it be like a debt restructuring scheme. Let it be only a restructuring of your balance sheets, which you cannot overdo for this thing. You need not to go to 232. It is only under 230. And 230 subsection 2 give the process. But when it talks about the 232, when there is a merger and demerger, you have to follow the process under section 232 subsection 2 for this. This is where one has to have that distinction, which that has to come. But otherwise, if I say that merger is not defined in the Companies Act, right? We talk about that merger, both amalgamation and merger are the synonymous terms. Now, the amalgamation is defined under section 2, subsection 6. Earlier it was section 2(1)(b). Now, with the income tax 2025, that sections have been changed. The contents remain the same. Now, if you look at this definition, amalgamation in relation to companies means the merger of one or more companies with another company, or the merger of two or more companies to form one company, right? In such a manner, take a pause here. If there is a company A, there is a company B. A is getting merged with B. All the assets, all the liabilities, all profits, all losses, all contracts, all employees, everything got vested with in company B, right? Now in company B has to issue. What is to issue? That's a one part. The company B has to issue the consideration. I'm not using the word shares. I'm using the word consideration. The company B has to issue consideration to whom? To the shareholders of company A, which I would say it's a transfer company. And then what remains in the company A when everything got vested? That company A becomes hollow. The company A becomes shell. There is nothing on that part. And then in the amalgamation process, we say that the company A will be dissolved without the process of winding up. This is I'm just giving you the brief concept of what the amalgamation is. Right? But there are related provisions to that part. Now the question comes, can company B issue preference shares to the shareholders of the company A in consideration of amalgamation? So that one has to look. And sometime when you have to issue the preference shares, you need to look at the accounting treatment also. Right? Now, if that accounting treatment, when you have to see, either you are under Ind AS 103 or you are under AS 13, under the GAAP. When you are under Ind AS, probably that is the control aspect which you have to deal with it. You have to see if the company is under the common control, it has to be under the pooling of interest method. But if it is not under the pooling, under the common control, right, then probably Ind AS says that, okay, you can have it, the purchase method. Now, in the purchase method, they said you can issue any consideration. You can issue even cash, debentures, everything. But the only thing is, if I say that if I issue the shares and if I issue partly the debentures, will it satisfy the provisions of the Income Tax Act? Will it be a tax efficient? Now you have to look at it from that angle. Now, if I look at that provisions, all the properties of the amalgamating company that will become, all the liabilities of the amalgamating company that will become the liabilities. Next is the shareholders, important. The shareholders holding not less than 3/4 in value of the shares in the amalgamating company, they will become the shareholder of the amalgamated company. So if I ask that question, that what I'll do is I'll give 10 shares, and it is under the purchase method. I will give 10 shares to the shareholders of the company A, and remaining I will give them the debentures. Will it meet the purpose? But if I look at it from that angle, I will say that by giving only even a 10 shares each, all the 100% shareholders of the transfer company, they become the shareholders of the amalgamated company. There is no bar that they cannot be the debenture holders. But if you look at Section 70F of the Income Tax Act 2025, which talks about the exemption for transfer, it may not be a tax efficient in the hands of the shareholders. Otherwise, if you issue shares, you issue preference shares, we say that, okay, both amalgamation and mergers are the tax, they will be subject to long-term capital gain if they are already holding for more than 2 years and all that, because the period of holding which they were holding in the transfer company will be constituted as a period of holding when they will get the shares, and they will get that price for this thing. They will be subject to long-term capital gain. They will be ending up paying 12.5% tax, which is the beneficial provision they have come, and then they will make it to that part for this. So structuring the transaction and conceptualizing it and then doing it with the defined objectives is the very, very important aspect which you have to just look at it for this thing. I'll just come to the questions which comes. What type of consideration? What is the mode and manner of the instrument which you have to just put it to this part? That's the, are we looking at the equity shares? Are we looking at it is that, okay, let it be a redeemable preference shares? Or a combination, because that will just make the things which are important to that part. Which entity should be selected? If there are multiple companies, right? And now the question comes, if there are A, B, C, D, E company, and you are looking at it is that you have to amalgamate, then you decide whether A will be amalgamated with C, B will be amalgamated with C, or with D, that what would be the resulting entity? What would be the amalgamated company? You have to decide it. And that your decision will be based on certain facts and circumstances. You need to look at it that whether there are any immovable properties, because there could be the stamp duty implications arising out of it. Whether that company is an industrial company or it is a trading company. If there are losses remaining in trading company, probably, and the first objective as this thing is to revive those losses and to see that, okay, those losses benefit can be taken it up. You may see that, okay, let that be merger be done in the company which is into a trading company. But sometimes you feel that, okay, the cost of stamp duty would be much higher, and you see that, okay, this is the company, let's put it, and you merge other companies which are asset light companies and merge it with the company which is having an asset base, so that you can save the stamp duty implication. And similarly, those losses and the treatment of reserves when we are talking about is the amalgamation on the carry forward of losses and then the depreciation. As and when you are restructuring, conceptualizing it, you even have to divide it, because business losses you can carry it forward for a period of 8 years, but the depreciation is for an infinity, right? There is no bar on that part. And then you have to see that how best you can work it out on that structure part for this. Next. No, I'm just giving you that example. Say this is a group 1, group 2 promoters group. ABC losses are 10 crores, but it's an industrial company, right? DEF is a non-operating trading company, but is having a large asset base of the immobile properties. Then is another company XYZ, which is operating company, movable assets, profitable, and then you think about that why not you merge all that. On the one side there are losses in the companies, on the other company there are profits, and there are immobile properties. How best you can look at it? You need to look at it, the objectives. Is that objective is to consolidate in one company and not to pay stamp duty? Then probably you will think about that, let ABC be merged with DEF and XYZ also merged, because it's a profit making company. There are no implications of carry forward of losses. It's a, like earlier in section 72, now it's 116. And there are losses, carry forward losses. There is unabsorbed depreciation. Industrial company, which is a precondition that, okay, if it is an industrial company, then you can carry it forward. Trading company, you cannot carry it forward for this. So all those objectives, if you will see the next, if you will just look at it from that angle, and probably you will end up that this resulting structure, which is coming in the next slide, is next slide. So this is where we are talking about is a group 1 and group 2, and the resulting entity which is coming up is the DEF further. This is how you have to look at it. I'm just giving you a very simplistic scheme of amalgamation, but with the example that, okay, how you have to choose it, how you have to make it. Next. Now coming to the concept of demerger, which I said that, okay, sometimes the demerger also is an important part. You look at it from that angle is, and as I said that, okay, apart from the strategic synergies, apart from the synergies which are the financial synergies, one objective which I said is probably is the family settlement, which you have to look at it. Because you need to divide the assets, you need to look at it from the demerger. And then you look at it, the demerger. But if you read these provisions, the most important thing is demerger in relation to company means the transfer pursuant to a scheme of arrangement by a demerged company of its one or more undertakings. And take a pause. We will just delve upon that. What do you mean by undertaking? That is the important aspect, as and when you are envisaging or you are conceptualizing that I have to, both in the case of slump sale and both in the case of demerger, you need to look at it as and when you're dealing, whether it constitutes the undertaking or not. But once you have constituted that, okay, this is the undertaking, then it comes that whatever the undertaking it makes, then all the properties of the undertaking being transferred by the demerged undertaking before the demerger becomes the property of the resulting company. All the liabilities relatable to the undertaking being transferred by the demerged company immediately before the demerger becomes the liability of the resulting company. Next. The properties and the liabilities of the undertaking being transferred are transferred at a values appearing in the books of accounts immediately. Now, after this thing is, otherwise it is a book value, but now with the Ind AS coming in it, this is that, okay, even if it is the purchase method you are applying, then you can make it. But here, there is a specific provision. Unlike under the merger, the resulting company issues in consideration of the demerger its shares. Can you issue preference shares? Answer is yes. Can you issue debentures? No. Here there is specific condition that you cannot issue the debentures. You can only issue the shares. Then is the similar provision, the shareholding hold not less than 3/4 in the value. The important part which is coming, next slide, which was coming was that the transfer of the undertaking is on a going concern basis. Now there was a guidance note on the going concern. Can I say that if the company is into a loss making, whether it is a going concern or not, it can still be constituted as a going concern, be it having a losses. If in the reasonable near future, if I'm saying that the company can continue to carry on its business, I would say that okay. And in the CARO, the auditors give that the company's accounts are being maintained on a going concern basis. And then you have to just look at it. But the important part which I'm just making it is again, is that what do you mean by undertaking? And when you look at the explanation in this section, this says undertaking includes part of the undertaking and which can constitute as the business activity as a whole. I'll give you the one or two examples of this thing. I was doing one matter for one Indian multinational into the cement business. Now, what happens in the cement business? So there are many activities. You see, first you set up the cement plant which is near to your raw material, that the limestone material is available because there are rocks. You see, then they have a blasting section. After the blasting section, there is a water. You see, they have to clean. So there's a water plant, they clean it. Thereafter, there's a soaking business. Then is the crushing activities. After that crushing activities, then they mix the coal ash and then the packing, and then ultimately you will see the cement coming, right? So the question was that there was a person who was doing the washing activities, and my client was having the in-house, and they were saying that there's a lot of problem. He have the licenses for washing. Can we sell our washing activity within the plant to that person? The question was coming, can I say that the washing activity itself within the same plant is an undertaking or not? And I concluded that yes, it can be constituted as an undertaking. Because what you are selling is a business activity for the other. And the same thing happened. I recently had a matter before the Chandigarh bench. The question came from the bench because I was doing one business with the land and we have the real estate thing. And yes, definitely the real estate was a one activity. And if I could take out my plant and machinery, and all were the machines, movable assets, I could have easily taken it to this thing. So I thought that, okay, I will take it at a later stage, but I will retain the land, I will sense land and building, I will do the demerger of the manufacturing business. In that manufacturing business, all the plant and machinery is going, all employees, all contracts, but land and building remained in the transfer company, in the demerged company. The bank said, how can it be constituted as an undertaking? I had given at least the written statement of more than 300 pages. And I proved with the judgments that undertaking is distinct. Undertaking includes part of the undertaking. That what has to be seen is from the other party's angle, that how that has to be seen. And the court has approved my scheme for that. There are related objects, there are related concerns, how you have to look at it, how you have to divide the assets, how you have to do the family settlement, and the demerger is the one part which you really look at it, how one can just think about the demerger part of it. I'll give you that examples if there are other examples for this thing. Similarly, again, I was just looking at it, the real estate business, the company A. And on that part, which I was doing a family settlement of one of the listed entities, frankly. That company was into a pharma company. Were also doing that. It's a simple example they have given it is eventually the structure was that the company A was doing part of the real estate and they had the investment because of the land ceiling provisions. They had made one company holding company below company A, and below that company A, there were multiple wholly owned subsidiary holding within those provisions the assets. And that was a company, a listed company. As part of the family settlement, ultimately what happened was that it has gone, we structured it in a way that in the resulting company, we park the real estate business, we park those investments in the real estate companies also into the resulting company, and the FMCG business was separated from the real estate business, and both the demerged company was already listed, and we got the resulting company also listed on that. That is where you see the promoters were happy, everyone was seen to it, and then we have gone through many part of this. Next. I think this is the one subject where I would say the cross borders. When we talk about 233 is the fast track and 234 is the cross border mergers. I'll just give you the 234 before I come to 233 in the fast track. Now, as and when you have to see to it, before this, you see, if you look at it, the Companies Act 1956 sometime, there were a provision that foreign company can be merged with the Indian company, but Indian company cannot be merged with the foreign company. That was under the 1956 Act. And the logic was they were saying that the transfer company can be a body corporate, but the transfer company must be a company under the Companies Act. The law changed in the 2013 Act. They said that now a foreign company can be merged with the Indian company and Indian company can also be merged with the foreign company to that part. But as and when you are saying no, earlier there were no guidelines, but then they provided that, okay, the first and foremost parameter is that if you are merging a foreign company, that foreign company must be into a notified jurisdiction. And Ministry of Corporate Affairs came out with the regulations, they came out with the rule, and the notified jurisdictions are largely where there are those companies which are under the FATF or they have their own regulators, all those companies, because there are many companies which are tax haven nations. Some of the tax haven nations we still feel are part, like Mauritius is under the notified jurisdiction. But if I say that it's a BVI company, British Virgin Island, probably that may not come within the notified. So you need to look at it, the foreign company which you are getting amalgamated with the Indian company or Indian company getting this thing, whether it is there. Then they said you have to see whether the RBI approval is there. For that matter, you have to see the FEMA circular. FEMA has come out with there is that because under the FEMA, if you look at it, one is the approval route, another is the automatic route. In the automatic route, most of the companies where the investment is coming are under the automatic route, except few companies where there are sectoral restrictions and other things which you need to take it. And if you are issuing shares, that is coming under the notified jurisdiction. You need not to go to the RBI. Approval is not required. They have given it that circular under the inbound circular for the cross-border regulation. But you must fall within that category. And you have to see how best we can. And then they said that okay, if the foreign company is getting merged with the Indian company, what would be the fate of that company? The company exists there, the company is no more there, but the business is there. That business will come as a branch office. Then you have to see as a branch office, you can carry on this thing. If you have given certain, that company had given certain guarantees and other things, you have to realize everything within a period of 2 years. If that will be the positions, if you can retain it to this thing. For that purpose, you have to open the bank account. So that guidelines by the FEMA are given there, and you really need to look at it from the cross-border mergers. I'm just giving you the one very core example, which is very core to my heart, and I'm just giving you for that. Look at the example of the cross-border, and this is which I was happy that I could have given a solution to my client for this thing. That person was, you see, at one point of time a non-resident. He was based in the Hong Kong. He had set up a company where that Maheshwari family was owning 45% in company XYZ. Right? And that company was, when this was owning it, and if you look at the Hong Kong structure, 45% directly, and then he has 100% owned by Maheshwari family, which was owning 55% in the company XYZ. Company XYZ was the immovable property. No, he was saying that, okay, time is not right, that, okay, I have to sell immovable property, let that property be parked. But my intent is that that company XYZ, which is owning 49%, 9.9% shares, and taken together with Maheshwari family individually was about 25.5, 49.95 through company X, and Maheshwari family directly, indirectly was owning 75%. Now, that company was a listed entity. So I structured it. First, I parked the immovable property in company X, Z and B, and in lieu thereof, company Z and B were not having money. They issued the debentures to company XYZ, and those debentures become the assets in the books of the company XYZ. Now, in the next slide, if you look at it, is then I got that XYZ merged with DEF, which was a new company set up 100% owned by Maheshwari family. Now, on that part, when they had issued, they said that, okay, I propose that, okay, why don't you issue the redeemable preference shares, because the guidelines are that inclusive, even you can issue even the depository receipts, everything. So on account of the merger, because the company ZAB was owning about 55% in XYZ, which got merged with DEF, right? And DEF had to issue shares. And on the one side was the assets coming, on the other side was the liability. Probably it was to be scared off. And this is how they were happy that, okay, they can do the structuring. And with limited role, because everything was under there, you need to look at the valuation aspect. You need to look at it there. You need to look at it that if there would be a transfer of immovable property, what would be the stamp duty implications in the overseas jurisdiction? How you have to take it. So there are many aspects which you have to see and then decide that what would be the aspect you have to really take it up. Next part. So I think the other question comes, can a foreign company's one of the businesses, the demerger, can happen with the Indian company? Answer is yes. The demerger, they have a one overseas entity they got one of the division demerged and resulted into the Indian company, and CLT had approved it. But on the contrary, when there was a demerger of the same group, Sun Pharma, with the overseas company, that they rejected it. Next slide. So they said it is not permissible. And they gave the guidelines. Just because of the paucity of time, I will skip the provisions, but I'm just giving you the overall concept of that.
Sir. Continue it till 5. We had, as the number is going increasing with your participation. So, sir, please continue till 5, sir.
So, no, I'm just continuing. This is what I'm saying is.
Okay.
Then I made you as a blueprint for Ghar Wapsi, which we normally talk about the reverse flip. So that's a process where earlier the Indian founded company, they had to raise funds from the private equity investors. They set up the companies overseas, got the private equity investment and everything in the foreign jurisdiction, because that was a fancy business. The operations were in the India. Now, when they had to be given the exit, they saw that there is nothing like the Indian market, capital market. And then they started thinking about why not look at it, merge that holding company with the operational subsidiary company. And if you will Google it, Ghar Wapsi, you will find these case laws. Right? And one of the recent judicial, which I'm just making it, is the Pine Labs. NCLT Chandigarh has approved it now. Sanctioned the merger into Indian subsidiary Pine Lab Private. This is a case, prime example of an inbound merger specifically designed to facilitate a domestic IPO. The court closely examined the ownership continuity and everything was examined. They looked at it, the FEMA provisions, and finally they said that, okay, we allow you for this thing. Similarly, the Misho Inc., NCLT Bangalore in June 2025. They also, the Delaware-based company was merged with the Fashioner Technologies here. But that time, the critical aspects which the court said that, okay, you have to take away the focus on the settlement of outstanding statutory dues, disputed GST claims and everything. And they said that, okay, they will do it, they crystallize everything. And subject to that, the court approved there, and it's not, and said that it's not substitute of any tax indemnity if there would be any tax implications and other thing. And all those related provisions, if I am saying that section 70, which is section 47F earlier for this thing, even there are related, you see the provisions under the Income Tax Act. I'll give you the one example. I've done 3-4, you see the cross-border mergers. And the recent example, I'll give you the one example. I had an Indian company which was having the subsidiary company in the British Virgin Island. BVI company had the subsidiary in Isle of Man. Isle of Man had invested in the London-based company, UK-based company. It was a steel business. Now look at that structure. Steel business, they sold it in UK. Money came in the Isle of Man. From Isle of Man, the money came in the BVI company, which was 100% subsidiary of the Indian entity. Had I got that money only without the merger, probably I would have been subject to tax. And then they thought that, okay, why not merge the BVI company into there? The money had come, everything had come, and it was such a tax efficient structure. Look at from those angles that how best you have to conceptualize those things. And then you will see how, and similarly, the Ground Billion Brain Garage, NCLT Bangalore, this is also an example where the court said, no, and I will allow you, but for your Indian companies for this thing, you change the objects clause. And they change the object clause in the memorandum article, and they approved the scheme, which was another example of cross-border merger. Next. So these are, I'm just making it is the one that what is merger and demerger. Another is the important aspect which I said is that what is the demerger and slump sale. I normally ask my people or the company secretary coming to me, give me the 5 examples that what is the difference between the demerger and slump sale. And I normally put them to this thing that, okay, go and write for that. No, demerger, sometimes you have to have the demerger, which has to be through the NCLT process. The process is little longer. So is it where in the business transfer agreement, it is through the BTA, you can structure it, right? Then I always say that demerger is tax neutral, both in the hands of the companies and the shareholders. It is only when the shares will be sold, then you will be subject to their. But when you talk about the slump sale, which was earlier Section 50B of the Income Tax Act, there is a specific mechanism which has been given that what do you mean by undertaking? Then you have to constitute that what is the net worth of the undertaking. And on the net worth of the undertaking, then what is the consideration and any difference which is coming. And now again, while calculating the net worth, they have given the mechanism. It is as good as under Rule 11A of the earlier Income Tax Act, which was saying that as regard the immovable properties are concerned, you have to value it at a market value. Others, you can continue with whatever is in the books. And similarly, for the slump sale, the net worth of the undertaking, you have to take it. So if the time is of the constraint, sometimes you look at it that, okay, I have to go for the slump sale. If you feel that, okay, you have a time, and you will see. Next comes is to whom you would like to give the consideration. In demerger, the consideration flows to the shareholders of the demerged company, not to the demerged company itself. Do you want the consideration has to flow to the shareholders, or do you want the consideration to come in the demerged company? Company which is owning the assets. If it is to go to the shareholders, probably the best route would be the demerger. And if there is any tax liability coming, you need to see whether the undertaking is for more than 3 years, you will be subject to long-term capital gain. In slump sale, if it is less than 3 years, it could be your business income and all that. You will be subject to short-term capital gain. But the demerger, we always say that it is a tax neutral if it is coming within the provision 219AA, which is now under the 2025 Act that has been changed for that one. And probably when you draw the demerger scheme, the court should not look at it that, okay, you are saving the taxes. And sometimes it happens, I'm telling you, unlike there are provisions for carry forward of losses in case of amalgamation, which you have to comply with this thing. Sometimes just for taking the benefit, because those related conditionalities are not in the case of demerger, which is in the case of amalgamation. And you can carry forward the business losses, depreciation in case of demerger. If that is the objective, you have to go for there. But if it is slump sale, the losses, the depreciation remains in the transfer company. It doesn't go along with that undertaking. So these are the important examples and the differences. You need to look at it, how best you have to just work it out on the demerger of slump sale. I'll just quickly, for 3-4 minutes, I will take you through the fast track, because that's also an important aspect. There are related issues, but if you look at it from the 233 provisions, the fast track, now probably because of the related changes in the 2020, I think it has opened up a big scope for the company secretaries. I think 90% of the cases, if I will look at it, will go to the regional directors. And now with the realignment of this thing, it is not that the company secretary is only there in every city and other things. If they will, and I'm telling you, it's such a remunerative subject. If you go into that part, you will see that okay, there are many provisions which are coming to that purpose. Earlier it was that the FASTag, now it is a holding company merger with the wholly owned subsidiary, right? And even if it is now a holding company, is a listed company, and a merger is there, right? And the clarity which is required, and I always look at it कि आपने law तो अब change और कर दिया, but the clarity where they says that okay, it is in 90% of the total value of the shares or the total value of the creditors, probably in listed company cases. But the two aspects which you have to look at it, one is am I coming within the definition of the companies which are the small companies or the startup companies? Now, even if it's the unlisted company, the law has been changed, right? Other than Section 8 companies, unlisted companies with certain criteria, if you're following, where, and that criteria, I would say that more than 80-90% companies fall within that criteria. Or even if it is a fellow subsidiaries of the same parent companies. And I'll give you that examples of the companies which are coming in this thing, which is 200. Yeah. So that is the new provisions which has come. So in the recent guidelines, one is the small companies, and now two or more startup companies, or one or more startup company with one small company, and the small company limits paid up capital is 10 crores and turnover of 100 crores, which is coming. And in the other companies, if it is there, so many companies which are coming within the criteria of the FASTag merger, and that will give lot of benefit, and it will really enhance the practice side of the profession. And I always say is that the C any profession, it is not only to the CS, it is the CA, and I will say your profession will grow if the practicing side of the profession will grow. And I compliment all the central council members who work day night, lies with the authorities, doing it is that how best they can enhance the practice side of the profession. And if you look at that history, I think we have achieved much more. And there are many things which we have to look at it from that angle. So with this, Manoj, I think I can take it up the selective reduction. I can take up partly for that buyback. I can continue because these are the you see subjects which are close to my heart. For the selective reductions, I recently did the Paytm issue with you see Ferrero Rocher, many others where the selective reduction has come, and we have been able to successfully achieve all those examples. For this, I think I have already exceeded the time limit for that, and with this, I once again thank all the members who have given me the opportunities, and to all those more than 10,000 members who is listening me patiently. Probably, if there would be any issues and other things, I'll be open to take up those issues. Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir, for this depth information and knowledge to our members. Really, it is appreciable from both the speakers. And as you have so many numbers of years experience and you have dealt with so many cases, so experience come through dealing with the cases. And as through your session, you had deliver for the members, and it is up to the members to take the benefits of your whatever insight you people have given. So we have few questions from the members. I am putting that first to Nisar sir. In a wholly owned subsidiary structure where the second shareholder holds shares only as a nominee, is execution of Form SH4 required for him when the shares are being transferred from the two existing shareholder to the proposed parent company and that another individual?
Yes, it's a very, as I mentioned, it's a wholly owned subsidiary require a lot of class on its own. There are judgments and cases already there in this. A lot of debates are happening, and also disputes are also been coming to. As far as this particular question is concerned, yes, SH4 is required, but consideration would be zero because the beneficial already declared 89 has been. If 89 had already been done, you have to do reverse. But SH4 to be signed, acknowledged, notarized, better, always better for tomorrow to have a kind of a dispute to be closed. Without consideration, you have to also affix if you are changing the stamp duty, 10 rupees, 1 rupee, whatever it's a stamp. If one person is changing hands to another one, he is now, see, the example here is in wholly owned subsidiary, you have to really create a body corporate is there who is holding 99.9999% and 0.00001% is being held by, in case of private company, one more person, maybe natural or body corporate, or maybe in case of public company, at least we are having 6 another individual or body corporates holding shares for the benefit of the holding company. No, 89 to be declared, 89, but 89 compliance is there, already form is now filed. And you have also maintained in the register of beneficial ownership, the register to be maintained. Now, when you are changing hands, since he has been attending the quorum, he is forming the quorum, he or she or put together, they are also participating in the general body to passing a resolution. For all the practical purposes, they are shareholders, but they are not having any beneficial ownership. They are trustee. So therefore, SH4, answer is yes, you get it signed. Consideration would be zero because he is holding, if that is going back to the body corporate, same, who is ownership 100%. But the stamp duty to be given, zero consideration, book value. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Sir, you see, I think the question there, probably we have to see to it because in the wholly owned subsidiary, see, there are two sections. One is the which is relating to SBO, but another is the 89, right? So in the nominee, 90 will not applicable, 89 will applicable.
Yes, yes. 89, I mentioned 89.
It is 89,
89
sir.
compliance is to be done. His
So
question was SH4 in case of shifting from A to B
Yeah.
within the beneficial ownership situation. 89. Again, you have to give declaration, file another form.
We have to again do the same compliance as we have done earlier.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay, sir.
SH4 to be signed for safeguard to
Sir.
avoid any conflict in future.
Yes.
Absolutely, sir.
In the
So
court
my
of law.
next question to Satvinder sir. In case of NCLT, while taking the matters of reverse merger, they are always be apprehensive about allowing the reverse merger order. So while filing the petition, what type of points should be taken care in a scheme?
Oh, again, I'm just making it's not that okay, we have done only a one matter of reverse merger. There are many, right? As
Sir.
I said that, okay, I'll just give you the example which I did it. There was an investment company, right? And that was another company was which was into the fashion design,
Sir.
right? I got the holding investment company into a fashion designing, which was a loss-making company, right? The income tax department put up a question and they said that the scheme be rejected. Yeah, and it was in the NCLT. The scheme be rejected. They said, no, it is only that in the transferee company, right? They are going to take the benefit of carry forward of losses, right? So I said that, okay, those are the provisions were there. You said that it is a reverse merger and you will not allow the profit-making company getting merged into a manufacturing company which was manufacturing clothes for them. And they were, you see, manufacturing clothes for the worldwide big brands,
Yes, sir.
right? Now, in that big brands, what happens is when you go and get your accreditation from those big brands, right? It takes years. और आज आप वो कंपनी को खत्म कर दोगे, right? Then that was the rationale. I gave that rationale in the scheme itself. Because to survive the continuity of that company, I need funds. I need this thing. And I countered that allegation that had it be that, okay, I would have merged the transferred company, which was a loss-making company, into another company. You said then it is not a reverse merger, right? I would have otherwise taken the carry forward of benefits. वहां पे तो उस वक्त मेरे को 8 साल और मिल जाते,
Absolutely.
राइट? इसमें तो मेरे को 8 साल नहीं, जितना लॉसेस का टाइम पीरियड बाकी है वही मिलेगा मेरे को. And I gave all that examples and other things because the issue is that they said what precautions they have to take it. And that is why I always look at it कि as and when you draw a scheme, right, your rationale has to be very, very strong. What makes you to go for this thing? I argued the matter before at one point of time to Delhi High Court. He said कि यार ये वाला matter. The Lordship, it is, the law provides that, okay, you can carry forward the losses. The law provides. What I am proposing is there, right? There are two aspects to it. One is the tax planning and another is the tax avoidance. You can very well do the tax planning, but you should not do the tax avoidance. If the law allow me to do the tax planning, why not? But it has to be coupled with a good rationale. That's why I put it the strategic synergies, financial synergies.
Absolutely, sir.
Fully agree with Satvinder. Absolutely, the concepts are there. It is being prevailed from ages. There is a reverse merger concept always been there. Only thing is required, just for sake of repetition, scheme required to be very clearly understood too. And drafting is a meticulous drafting. Here is the change. If you're drafting the scheme, it should not be unambiguous kind of thing. It should be clear from all. So that person who is now drafting the scheme should be get it vetted from the experts and then to go, and then no problem. Absolutely. Text point of view से भी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. As far as the first query was concerned, let me add one more element. There is a difference between shareholders, the word shareholders, and members.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at 241 tomorrow problem, and 241 deals with only members, not shareholders. So just for the person, the first queryist, why I know SH4. Okay.
absolutely, sir. So
Okay.
again, one same question to both the speaker. For our members who are joining this particular session of yours, in every planning of structuring or restructuring, how much the role and importance of income tax, and how our member have to equip themselves, because our member is very much compatible with the Companies Act and everything, but not compatible with the income tax and financial aspect of the balance sheet. So kindly, if any insight and suggestion to our members, sir.
See, Manoj, I am not a chartered accountant. Right?
Yes, it shows in your presentation.
My regulatory partner, Lokesh, he is also not a chartered accountant. my other team members, all are company secretaries for me. But today I can give you with the confidence that even if that any issue which is coming, even on the tax aspects, and particularly on this subject, I am not making it as that one should read, and this is Income Tax Act is also part of the curriculum of the ICSI, right? At least if there are 8, 10 sections, well, I would say that many others, but there are 8, 10 sections which continuously deal with this, with the income tax provisions. Recently, that example came, the buyback of shares, section 56(11) will not be applicable because it is not a transfer, and the valuation norms will not be applicable. Reading those provisions and other things are important aspect, right? I would say that we have to choose whether we would like to make only a compliances by applying, or we really want to get deep into this thing. Once you will start looking at it is and making it is, to my mind, I think, as I said that okay, the CS profession is a most versatile profession. You can take help of those who are good in tax. I'm not saying, but get involved into that. That's number one for that income tax. But who stops you not to do the stamp duty part? It's so remunerative. Who stops you not to do the indirect tax? Because there would be the examples and other things, right? Your companies act, we are the core one. But if you will gain this thing, believe me, I'm telling you, maybe after 5 years, 7 years, 10 years of practice, the billionaires will be sitting outside your office and will be saying that, okay, I need to see Mr. Purbe, I need to look at this thing. Nisar Bhai, I would like to, all these things. And I'm happy the other day I was talking to Nisar Bhai that there are many company secretaries we have witnessed who are appearing in different benches. Be it Chandigarh, I've seen, be it, I think, GS Sareen, I think Nisar Bhai know the Pune and others. There are others who have been cultivated to this thing, who have, and somebody has to hold their hands, that's fine. But
And thanks to ICSI, Institute has been now promoting this profession for rapid representation services. Go ahead.
so I'm just making it as nothing stops you. Today, the Nisar Bhai, I think, no, he's a mentor to many. I am saying he's a mentor to many advocates. How to appear in the NCLT.
Thank you, sir.
Coming to, let me supplement whatever it being now mentioned, since the question was for both. I tell you one historical background for all those who have been participating today's webinar, or those who are not there, please convey it. Historically, tax matters were being dealt with earlier, historically, from ages. From my childhood, I've seen my cousin was there as a tax expert. He happened to be the advocate only. So advocates were only occupying the position of practicing before the tax authority. Now today what is happened? That portion has gone. New generation, they are now occupied by another profession. Nothing wrong reading section 2025 Income Tax Act. Every person to read again and again. It is a new law altogether. Even if sections are changed, nothing wrong. What my brother has mentioned, Satvinder, only 8 to 10 sections, which is a very rich, confined to businesses and advisory kind of thing. The profession is getting mature from day by day. Profession of company secretary I'm referring to. Therefore, nothing wrong to move further from the core area of what company law, corporate law, FEMA, and security laws, to venture into the tax, both direct and indirect taxation. I mean, it is a very routine and everything is through electronic mode. And we have been now doing all filing, uploading, downloading systems, formats. And now today, the format is so easy, user friendly. Filing a return 139 section it's so easy for guiding for the non who are not in a position to do so. So I think time has come, and every person to read. Let me tell you, whether he's a 30 years old practitioner, chartered accountant, or lawyer, or even the company secretary. Today, they have to read again the new Act 2025. Better is when the Companies Act 2013 came into, everybody has started now reading across. Earlier, they say, oh, how could we do it? We remember 1956. But today, most of us, we have been now remembering all provisions dealing with particular thing. Similarly, IBC came into a threshold, new provision came into altogether. Nobody has read IBC. But today, IBC, most of us, we have been now dealing with day and day, not only the substantive law, but we have been doing the regulatory part, IBBA regulations, working very well. So I think time has come. It's appeal through this webinar. Those who have been listening and not listening, and then please communicate and propagate. Time has come now, since profession is mature, let's venture out into the tax laws, both direct and indirect taxation, in addition to your core.
And ICSI Council is also very much committed to this, whatever suggestion you people have given. And on a regular basis, we are doing effort in that direction, and hope so in future our more and more company secretary are joining this particular area. With this thing, sir, today webinar on structuring and restructuring of business has truly been an enriching and thought-provoking learning experience. I would first like to express my sincere gratitude to our esteemed speaker, C.S. Nisar Ahmad sir, for his highly insightful session on structuring of business. The way he explained corporate structure of mid and large size companies, brand board committees, standalone entities, associate companies, subsidiaries, wholly owned subsidiaries, and joint venture, along with critical concepts such as beneficial ownership, significant beneficial ownership, reporting aspect, acquisition, leverage, buyout, buyback, and practical case studies, has provided all of us with valuable strategic and practical perspective. Further, I also extend my heartfelt thanks to distinguished speaker C.S. Satvinder Singh sir for his equally enlightening deliberation on corporate restructuring, his insight on the need and advantage of restructuring, various restructuring options and objectives, key forms of corporate restructuring, merger-related tax provision, that is very much crucial, as well as the discussion on cross-border outbound demergers supported by case studies, have added tremendous value and broadened our understanding of this dynamic area. Both the sessions have beautifully blended conceptual clarity with practical application, making this webinar immensely beneficial for all participants. The depth of knowledge and real-world insights shared by both our learned speakers have made today's session truly memorable. Once again, thank you to our both the speaker making this session lively. On behalf of all participant and organizer and the ICSI, I convey our sincere appreciation to CS Nisar Ahmad sir and CS Satvinder sir for sharing their wisdom and expertise with us. Thank you to all the participants as well for your active engagement and presence. Sorry, due to paucity of time, we had not taken because we have so many questions with us. But
you must communicate to us. We will answer all those questions. You can flag and then send it to us.
That is the
we'll
time.
Definitely get back to through institute to get them. All right. So I think for them also to have some answer, we'll give it.
Absolutely, sir.
Secretariat will organize. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. And with this, we conclude today's webinar. Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you so very much, for the nice coordination. Thank you, ICSI, for this opportunity. Thanks once again to all the participants. Wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Bye.